Hi, this is Curtis from Newer Futures, and I'm absolutely excited about bringing you another impactful content on just what's Newer Futures. What's Newer Futures Media? What are we planning on doing? How are we planning on doing it? Where we've been? What have we've been up to? And what are the things that we plan on doing next? So for us, our biggest thing is to figure out how do we get you to understand where technology is going? What are the things that you don't know? What are the intersectionalities between technology and human experience? Whether it's big business, whether it's small business, whether you're that guy that you're trying to figure out from a workforce development standpoint, what do I need to be learning right now in the age of emerging technology? Today, it's AI. Yesterday was blockchain. Before that was automation. Tomorrow, it's some form of fast computing, quantum computing. You got to figure out what industries that are most impacted, what industries are going to be obsolete, what industries would you be able to provide value in. And I think the hugest thing that people want to know the most is what's easier to learn in such a fast paced environment. And is AI and the ability to be able to retain knowledge going to be able to come to some kind of synergy to where traditional ways of learning a thing are going to be different? Or are we going to look at it from a standpoint of capability? Who's that person that's a tinkerer? Because I feel very strongly that the tinkerers are going to be the ones that are going to prevail the most. Because one thing about people that are tinkering, a lot of times, it's not that they're trying to, from an academic standpoint, have to learn everything. They just want to figure out, okay, here's a problem I've identified. Okay, if I start tweaking this one thing, I'll tweak that and figure this out. Okay, pair these two things together, whether I'm learning some kind of a API or some kind of different quick language or something like that. If I just know how to tell it what to do, and the AI is able to bridge the gap and be able to make the connections, make the APIs, being able to enable back end and front end development, and you be able to just really focus on customer impact, being able to focus on front end and UX UI type design. Like I think those are the people that are gonna really boom in this type of market. And so when I started looking at, okay, here's the journey that I've been on traditionally over the last 20 years. I've went from a space of learning of, oh, I want to be the tech guru in this one space. And back then it was MCSE, learning how to figure out Microsoft. And then it became network engineering. How do I figure out, how to be a better CCIE? Never been a CCIE. However, I was reading all the CCIE books because when I was a network architect, what I realized was me just learning on a CCNP level was not good enough. What I realized was I need to start learning about a lot of the more advanced routings. But one great thing about technology, even outside of AI, even the backbone routing, backbone architecture, all of that stuff was automated. And we started learning about better ways to kind of like build out smarter data centers and being able to do like spine and leaf methods. And so when you start looking at those journeys, everything started to converge. I used to be able to say, hey, I'm a system administration guy, I'm a system engineer. I don't do networking. Then I became a network guy. Then I realized, oh, I've got an advantage in networking because I understand system administration, but I also understand servers. And so when you start looking at how you start pairing those things together, over time, the way we had to learn was individual hardware and software mechanisms in the grand scheme of things of having better user interface. Now, when you look at where we're at right now, everything's all encompassing. Everything's in the cloud, but also you still have to have a robust backbone when it comes down to what's on the ground. And so when I look at what AI is doing, yeah, there's going to be some core things like no matter what you do, you're the greatest in your network or in your system at the weakest link. So whether that's a small pipeline, whether that's a VPN pipeline that's not getting the most throughput through, or whatever that is, what I'm looking at is you have the tech, you have the capability of the tech, but you also have the limitations of the hardware. But in today's times where we're moving, there's so much upside. There's so many inventions. There's so many people tapping into the most potential of where these things can go. That when I look at where businesses have to decide, where businesses have to understand, okay, because I'm using these new technologies, because I'm using these new capabilities, how can I make my team that's already hired a force multiplier? And what does that look like when it comes down to the training deltas or the change in what do they need to know now? What do they need to know next? And retraining or cross training. And, very hopeful in that mindset because when you start looking at, us talking about emerging technology just as a cool thing to talk about, yes, it is a bit intimidating because every now and again you find one or two people that have a little time to start creating things fast and really get more intimate into it. And the ones that don't have to have like more corporate guardrails, they kind of prevail to get something out, but it's also not the best because you look at things like, the T app, where they got something out there super fast. However, it did not have, probably a lot of GRC compliance. And so when you start looking at where are we right now in this amazing thing called the tech space, it's absolutely exciting. It's a little frightening. However, what I like about it is when you look at all the things that make up a company, they're still core fundamentals, which are the people that are in the value chain that support those things. And those are the people that are your product managers. You start looking at the actual, what are we looking at? Project managers, people that run the sprints, people that are just getting, guys like myself in line that, we come in, we do cool stuff, but, necessarily sometimes there isn't a process. And you also look at with some of these areas, there's the people that are supporting them. So when you start looking at a lot of these companies, you'd be very surprised at the amount of people that work in tech, but are just on the support side that are making sure that the operators, the developers, the innovators, the R&D people have what they need to get that thing done. But then once they get it done, guess what? There's a whole nother side of support on the front end side, which is making sure that you get product placement, product market fit, marketing. You have people that are making sure that they do testing on the product, stress testing. You have people that are looking at everything from the naming conventions. There's so many aegis, and especially the bill payers, the people that are in the finance side, the people are in the procurement side, the things that really enable the whole construct. So whether you have a piece of software or a piece of hardware, there's so many roles. And so when I look at the impact of the emerging technologies, especially AI, and any of the other ones that are coming along, the impact really hones true when we get a greater concept of when a lot of these technologies are compounded and collide, and you're able to make a greater human experience and being able to say, yes, by using it as a singular item, yes, it is pretty cool. Blockchain is cool when you use it as a singular item. Yes, automation is cool when you use it as a singular item. However, look at our smartphones right now. Back in the day, our phones were a phone by itself. We had a GPS by itself. We had a calculator by itself. We had all these different tools. I don't say people take it for granted. I just think it's so first world that we don't understand the beauty of taking all those different emerging technologies and bring them together to create a better human experience. And so that's something that I just want to come to you with. And I also want to make sure that you understand that, hey, we've got a lot of content coming out. I've done some amazing interviews with people that are in the value chain, people that are in the channel, because this is Neural Futures. However, we do get our support from our other company, Cybernetics Global, and we go to these different conferences like ChannelCon and going to Atlanta Tech Week. And so, in that vein, we're able to be able to speak to a lot of the industry partners that we have, especially being able to talk to different distributors that we use as service delivery. And so, this has been a very, very great year. It's been a very strategically Yeah, anonymous year because of geopolitical situations. However, it's definitely tested resilience across the market, and it's also been able to allow us to leverage certain technology where there are gaps to be able to close out on what we need to get done. So stay tuned. This is Neuro Futures. You guys have a great day.